As you can see from the agenda, the session is divided into two parts. The first part of the session will focus on the posting of drivers with presentations on the main EU rules and national information on remuneration for drivers in 5 different member states. After a short break, we will continue with the second part of the session, which will focus on the driving and rest time rules. Each part of the session will include a question and answer session where you will be able to ask the Commission and the representatives of the participating member states any questions you may have about European or national rules and procedures related to today's session topics. At the end of the session, ELA representative will share information and links where you could find more information at the European level on the applicable rules and national posting websites. Having said that, we can start the session, and I invite my colleague Jean McGuirk from ELA Information and Euros Unit to welcome you on behalf of ELA. So Jean, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Airine, and welcome all to the second in a series of road transport events, information sessions, local information sessions that are focused on the heavy goods vehicle sector. My name is Jean. I work for the European Labour Authority, and I just want to talk a little bit about the European Labour Authority, which is one of the newest EU agencies. Its mission statement is to ensure fair and effective labour mobility around the European Union. It is based on 3 pillars: the information pillar, the cooperation pillar, and the enforcement pillar. This event is being held on behalf of the information pillar. I work in the information section. What we do here is we ensure that information from directives, regulations is made accessible and understandable to citizens, job seekers, employers, national administrations, national authorities. And so we, as well as making it accessible linguistically, we also make it available in a wide range of forms: websites, print matter, etc. The cooperation unit of the European Labour Authority, which we call ELA, is helping member states cooperate with one another and getting those synergies of working together and getting a consistent effect on labour mobility. We also have an enforcement section within ELA, and that ensures it supports member states in inspecting and carrying out inspections on whether these regulations and directives are being applied in the correct manner. This, of course, in the road transport section has resulted in a series of weeks of action that have happened over the last year, because road transport was ELA's campaign for 2022, and hence this roadshow on local events. We had one in Romania there in October. We're having this Lithuania event here, and we will have a Latvian event in December. Poland and Germany event is into the early part of 2023. ELA also is responsible for EURES, which is the platform. It was formerly with the Commission, it's now with the Labour Authority. It is the platform giving a service to job seekers and employers, and it again facilitates labour mobility. Also, we have the platform for undeclared work, now under the authority's wing, and that of course is something we're all working to eliminate, underdeclared and undeclared work. So we work at the information unit and collaboratively with the rest of the units in ELA to facilitate access to information. The information sessions have two key messages. They are two key messages from the Mobility Package 1, and those messages are around the posting of drivers and driving and resting times. We will have presentations by experts. We'll have an expert panel there, but please ask your questions. Some of the information, the presentations you may know already, but please, let's have an interactive and good session with a lively Q&A. So this event and these type of events, as I say, are the focus. Road transport was the focus of, and still is the focus of ELA for 2022. And we hope that that will, help establish people's rights and obligations, both employers and employees, and also contribute to making the sector more attractive for people, because we know there's labour shortages within the sector, and also contribute to overall to road safety. So with that, I'll hand back to the moderator, my colleague Irene, and I hope you have an enjoyable session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean, for your welcome words and information. So we can now start the first part of today's session dedicated to the posting of drivers. And I invite Ms. Lana TOMIC from the European Commission, DG Move, to give an overview of the main EU rules on posting of drivers in road transport. So Lana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, colleagues from ELA, and thank you very much to all the participants. It's a pleasure to be able to present here for you. I would just like to mention one small caveat, which is that a colleague of mine is sadly ill. She was supposed to present, and it was really literally last-minute cancellation. However, I'm also very familiar with the topic myself, so I hope that I will be able to feed you all the information that you need, answer to all of your questions. And if there is really something that, we think that I don't know, that only she can reply, then we will make sure to revert back to her, and then you will get your answers back. That being said, I would like to start with the presentation now. So I think we can start with the first slide. In this information, I will just give first this brief overview of new posting rules for drivers and operators in road transport, and I'm pretty aware that you are already well informed about them, but just for a recap, and then I will focus more on enforcement. So the rest of the presentation will be mostly on enforcement measures, and then I will really show some of the Commission guidance where you can find it on our website, and that's it from what we've prepared, and then we can proceed with Q&A if you have some questions in particular. So as you know, the new rules on posting of drivers in road transport have been introduced by Lex Specialis, which is Directive 2020-1057, which started applying on the 2nd of February 2022. This is also the date where the member states were supposed to all transpose the directive into their national laws, because it is up to them actually to come up with the enforcement measures. This has now been the case for actually majority of member states. Majority of them have transposed. Some of them have partially transposed, and only really a small number has not transposed the directive at all. But we have received some provisional timelines, and most of them are planning to do it sometime early next year. This is for your information, if you were wondering, because I know that most of you were. So the main point of these new rules is that posted drivers receive the remuneration of the host member states where they are posted, but this is of course only case if this remuneration is more favorable than the remuneration of the member states of the establishment. There is a closed list of harmonized administrative requirements for transport undertakings around the EU, which is a novelty because before each member state had their own administrative requirements, and this would mean you have drivers posted in several member states. You have to get familiar with all different systems. In some cases, this means 26 different systems. And then you have to post different documents, or you don't have to. You have to get used to different portals, different interfaces. Here we're talking about one and harmonized for all. The posting model is based on the basically differentiation of road transport operation. So we differentiate here between bilateral operations, cross-trade operations, and cabotage. Bilateral operations are not a posting situation. So very often we receive some requests which refer to bilateral operations, and then we get questions, how do I declare posting? The system doesn't allow me. Well, it doesn't allow you because posting situation, it's not bilateral operations, so you don't have to declare anything. I mean, you have to declare posting. For cross-trade operations, they are considered a posting situation with some exceptions. So 1+1 cases, or 0+2 loading and or unloading in the member state that the driver crosses. And then cabotage as well is considered a posting situation. Next slide, please. So now I would like to, as I promised, start with a different different rules the Commission has put in place to help enforcement of the new rules. And one of them, probably the most important one for everyone, is the IMI, or more precisely, the portal public interface connect to the IMI. So here we have two systems, and I believe you're also aware of that. We have road transport posting declaration portal, and we have IMI, which is internal market information system. Very often both are referred to as IMI. For me personally, it's fine, they can be called whatever, as soon as we know which one we need and which one is what for. So the first portal, this is for operators. This is where operators submit posting declarations for their posted drivers. And this is of interest for you. I believe most of you also refer to it as IMI. It's partially correct because it's connected to the IMI. IMI, this is the portal, this is the system which is actually for the administrations of member states. So they exchange the information, and via this system, they can request to check the documents. So these are the main two differences. So I think, as I already explained, I will now go more into detail. So for companies, this means that through the RTPD, you submit standardized, so the same for all member states, posting declarations at the latest of the commencement of the posting. So not after, but the latest at the date of the commencement, and they're then multilingual. For the host authorities, they enforce posting rules by requests for documents sent directly to the company. There is a closed list of documents they can ask for. These include tachograph records, pay slips, proof of remuneration, consignment notes, and employment contracts. And for the home authorities, they can receive requests for assistance from the host authority and then proceed to checks on the company. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the enforcement, what happens prior to the posting? So prior to the posting, the operator established in other member states has the obligation to submit a posting declaration to the authorities of member states to which the driver is posted, as I mentioned, at the latest at the commencement of the posting, using the public interface, which I mentioned. And public declaration can cover maximum 6 months of posting, but it can be renewed. Next slide, please. What is the content of the posting declaration? I believe most of you have already seen it, but maybe just to recap it, to have it in one side, it might be also useful for you. First, you have the identity of the operator, at least in the form of the number of the community license, where this number is available, because I believe it's not available in all member states. Then you have contact details of a transport manager or other contact person in the member state of establishment to liaise with the competent authorities of the host member state in which the services are provided, and to send out and receive documents or notices. Then we have the identity of the driver, the start date of the driver's contract of employment, the envisaged start and end date of posting, number plates of the motor vehicles, and finally we have the description of the transport service performed. So carriage of goods, carriage of passengers, international cabotage. Next slide, please. During the posting, the operator has to ensure that drivers have at their hand the list of documents, which I will now mention, and driver has the obligation to make sure that to keep safely these documents and to make them available when he's requested. So the driver must have the posting declaration in paper or electronic form. Both works because there is a QR code. So the enforcer just scans it and he will see everything he needs on his device. Then he needs evidence of the transport operations that are taking place in the host member state, such as an electronic consignment note, so-called ECMR, and he needs tachograph records. Next slide, please. One of the new things with these new rules that has been introduced is that the national authorities can directly document to the operator to check compliance with posting rules via IMI. So this is so-called the request for documents feature. The national authorities can ask for the following. They can ask, so basically for the documents I mentioned before. So tachograph records, consignment notes, documents proving remuneration of the driver in respect of the period of posting, employment contract, timesheets, and proof of payments. Next slide, please. This is one of the frequent questions as well. So this is about the procedure and deadlines for the request for documents. So when you receive a request for documents, this is how it looks. First, the host authority makes a direct request to the company via the IMI, which I already mentioned, and it arrives automatically to the company, which then receives notification. Second step, the company receives the request in the interface and has 8 weeks to submit the requested documents. Then, if the company fails to submit the documents within 8 weeks, the host authority may request assistance from the home authority. And then, if home authority has access to the request from the host member state's authority in IMI and contacts the company, for example, via checks at premises, to get the documents, he has to get the documents within 25 working days. Next slide, please. So this is one of the most important things, and I believe you're mostly familiar with it. So the Commission has really done multiple actions to support the sector in applying the new rules. It has been mentioned on multiple occasions, so I will not mention them again, but in case it's of interest, please do ask or come back to us later, or maybe best check on our website. So we have revamped our web pages for this purpose, and there is a new DigiMove website on Mobility Package 1. You have the link here. I believe, again, you're familiar, but if not, when you receive the presentation, you can just click on it. And there you have several guidance notes produced by the Commission. They're on posting for frightened passengers, and there are also FAQs on the use of the portals I mentioned. And there are also fact sheets translated in all community languages, which are supposed to simplify a bit, but really simplify the understanding of the new rules. And all the materials mentioned there were produced in cooperation with the expert group on posting on drivers. Next slide, please. This is another very important website. This is work we have done together with ELA, and maybe ELA will want to talk about it because they have done really most. I will not talk much here about it, but it's always the question, so I have to repeat it. For the information about remuneration in different member states. First of all, this is the responsibility of member states to have these pages updated on their websites. Not only that it's their responsibility, but we as a Commission are actually, or institutions, so not only us, also ELA, we cannot publish this on our website. This is their responsibility. They have to keep it updated. But if to simplify it, to make it sort of all accessible for you on one place on your Europe, you will see the link to it under the posting for road transport section. So here you see this is the state of play, I think, from when we were making this screenshot maybe a couple of days ago. So these are the countries that you see in full color, so not in gray, that have posted the updated information on remuneration on their websites. So just click on these links here, and then you will be redirected to the member states' websites. Countries that are still in gray, they have not yet published their updated information. But as you see, they're really minority. And from our side, we are also cooperating with member states to make sure this speeds up a bit. So this is all information on remuneration. And I believe, next slide, please. Yes, so another thing which could be very useful for you, and it's again on the DigiMove's website, and again, you should already be, hopefully are familiar with it. This is on the use of the portal of the public interface, where you submit posting declarations, as we call it, RTPD by abbreviation. So we have developed this portal, first of all, in cooperation with operators. And please also know that on the websites you also have, and also on ELA's websites, you have videos of trainings that we have organized together with ELA, where operators took part. You also have a FAQ, which I mentioned, which is actually on the functioning of the portal and help desk. So you have these most frequently asked questions, which are more some are policy, but some are also touching up on technical, so really just the most frequently asked questions. And please also note that when it comes to this portal, there is ongoing improvements, of course, pending budget on this portal. So really, we take into account your feedbacks, which we receive through email, and then we see what we can do to make it more user-friendly, easier for you to use. And that's it. You can access this information to the link. Thank you very much, and I will be then open for your questions.